The arrest, death, and resurrection of Jesus. The setting. Jesus went to Jerusalem with his disciples in order to celebrate the Passover. While celebrating the Passover meal, Jesus instituted the new covenant. Jesus then took his disciples with him to pray in the garden. While in the garden, a group sent by the Jewish religious leaders along with Judas came to arrest Jesus. Jesus was taken away, having been betrayed by Judas. Peter then denies him 3 times, and those who had arrested Jesus began to mock and beat him. The next morning after Jesus had been arrested, the religious leaders of the Jews brought Jesus in to meet with them. They said to Jesus, "If you are the Messiah, the Christ, then tell us." Jesus answered them, saying, "If I tell you, you will not believe. If I ask you, then you will not answer me, nor will you let me go. Soon the Son of Man will sit at the right hand of God." Then the religious leaders asked him, "Are you the Son of God?" Jesus replied, "You say that I am." The religious leaders then spoke, saying, "We need no further evidence, for we have heard it from his own lips." Then those who had arrested Jesus brought him to Pontius Pilate, but Pilate sent Jesus to face Herod. Herod, upon meeting Jesus, was pleased because he had heard about this Jesus, and he desired to see Jesus perform a miracle. Herod asked Jesus many questions, but Jesus refused to answer. The religious leaders continued to accuse Jesus in front of Herod. Herod and his soldiers also treated Jesus with contempt, and they mocked him, and they put a nice robe on Jesus. Then Herod sent Jesus back to Pilate. Ironically, because of the situation surrounding Jesus, Herod and Pilate, who had detested each other before, now became friends. Upon being brought in front of Pilate a second time, Pilate spoke to the religious leaders, saying, "I have not found this man to have committed any crime. Neither has Herod found any guilt in this man, which is why he sent him back to me. Therefore he has done nothing to deserve death. So I will punish him and then set him free." But the religious leaders said to Pilate, "Take this Jesus away and release to us the prisoner who has been arrested for taking part in a rebellion against the government and who had committed murder." Pilate then told them he was going to release Jesus, but the religious leaders cried out for Pilate to crucify Jesus. And Pilate gave in to the demands of the religious leaders and released the murderer. Then Pilate had taken Jesus away to be crucified. They led Jesus to a place called the Skull, and there they crucified him. They also crucified 2 criminals with him, one on his right side and the other on his left. While hanging on the cross, Jesus cried out, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." There were Roman soldiers and others standing around, and they began to mock Jesus, saying, "He saved others, now let him save himself, if he indeed is the Messiah. If you are the King of Kings, then save yourself." They put a sign above his head that read, "This is the King of the Jews." One of the criminals who was crucified with Jesus said to him, "Are you not the Messiah? Save yourself and us with you." However, the second criminal spoke up in defense of Jesus, saying, "Do you not have any fear of God at all? We are being crucified justly for we are receiving the punishment for the crime we have committed. But this man has done nothing wrong." Then the second criminal said to Jesus, "Jesus, please remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus responded, "Today you will be with me in paradise." About noon on that day, darkness covered the land for several hours. Jesus then called out with a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." Then Jesus breathed his last breath and died. One of the Roman soldiers who witnessed everything said, "Certainly this man was innocent." After Jesus died, his body was buried in a tomb that had never been used before. Some women who had followed Jesus wanted to prepare spices and ointment for the body, but it was the beginning of the Sabbath, so they returned to their homes. On the first day of the week at dawn, the women returned to the tomb, bringing with them the spices and ointments they had prepared to anoint the body of Jesus. However, when they came to the tomb, they found the stone had been rolled away from the entrance. They went inside and found that the body of Jesus was gone. Then the women saw two men who stood in front of them in dazzling light, and the two men said to the women, "Why do you seek the living among the dead? He is not here, but he is risen. Remember what he told you earlier, that the Son of Man would be crucified, but on the third day he would rise from the dead." Then the women told the disciples of Jesus what they had witnessed, but they did not believe the women. One of the disciples went into the tomb to see for himself, and when he got there, all he saw was the linen cloth with which they had wrapped Jesus' body for burial. He went back home, marveling at what had happened.